Well, good afternoon. One more time. It is our final conversation of the day today of our One Heart, One Earth Global Healing Summit, Awakening the Sacred Body. And I was really looking forward to bringing these four women together. Not sometimes, most of the time, when I connect with people and guests and, bios and websites and all these different things, I'm inspired to bring certain like-minded and similar frequency people together. So that's how this happened. So these four women haven't all necessarily met each other before, but I'm so grateful they're all here. And we are going to be talking today about the body as our temple. And I'm going to kick it off and welcome in everybody. I see you all coming into the live here. Please just comment. You can ask your own questions, and you can also answer the questions I'm going to be presenting to the panelists as well, because we love all that. Just share for sure. And so I want to kick this off. Denise, Diane, Deanne, Celeste, welcome in. And I'm going to kick this off with my very first question, which is, when was the moment or the story or the event where you first realized that your body was more than just a physical form?
I'm Denise Maple. I'll start. I'm a mind, body, spirit coach with Live Life Spiritual Direction. And to answer Lisa's question, I don't remember the exact time, but I remember a time maybe 10 or 15 years ago when I first started studying A Course in Miracles. And I've been studying it on and off since then. And for those of you who don't know what it is, it's a channeled text from Jesus, basically clarifying what he meant by many of the things that, were in the Bible, or what his intentions were. And there is something like it that is, I'm not a body, or something like that. And it really got me thinking about, well, then what am I? And of course, I had some spiritual focus at that point, but, this idea that, this is just the suit we're in for now, it was the first time I think that really hit me.
Thank you.
I'll keep going. My name is Celeste Ferro. I'm an Ayurvedic consultant, and I'm a body worker, an energy worker, and I own Corazon Wellness in Lakewood, Colorado, so it's very close to Denver. The question was put out, and I was like, oh, when? Let me think back. And I couldn't get anything. And then suddenly this thought, idea, thing came up, and I was like, you always knew. You always knew. Mm-hmm. Like, it was always there. I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but I was raised very religious, so I always knew that there was something else. I believed that there was something else. I'm a very spiritual person now. I don't follow any religion specifically, but it's kind of hard to explain, honestly. I don't know if there are words to say. Yes, this is my hand, my arms, and then also there's just my spirit. It's just something that was there, a knowing.
We're all nodding.
Yes.
We've had too many embodiment practices. We're all in our minds.
No, well, hi, I'll jump in. I'm Deanne. I'm a yoga teacher and a medicine woman and a wisdom keeper. And, the word really is ineffable. How do you put words to, this profound awakening? And I would say mine happened in multiple stages, but the two that jump out, or the first one would be through yoga and breath work, my Kundalini awakening. And it was actually while meditating and really cultivating my own energy and my own aliveness. And I was on a 6 to 8 month man cleanse at the time. So that's what you have to look forward to if you're open to that. And then the second one was my first ayahuasca journey. I didn't realize that I was cut off from my lower chakras, after 2 C-sections. And then she brought breath and movement and just sutured everything together. And it was noticeably different after that. My voice went, dropped into my root. I felt grounded and more connected. So, and because of those two experiences, I've kind of dedicated my life to offering those practices. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful shares. The question you asked, Lisa, about the first time is quite interesting, because I think many of us have an embodiment practice. And so for me, it actually dates quite some time ago, about 30 years ago, when I was in my early 20s. At the time, I didn't quite realize at the time that I was on this pilgrimage. I was in Southeast Asia, having worked in a career in tech for quite a few years, feeling quite burnt out and looking to restore my energy and my well-being. And I was in the south of Thailand and came across a beautiful Thai woman who was offering Reiki. And I was curious about this offering and had one of the most profound experiences. And just even as I'm remembering that, I'm getting chills right now. Remember at the time she was practicing Reiki on me, and when she arrived at my throat chakra, she sensed this tremendous blockage. And she encouraged me to just let it go. And I experienced one of the most invigorating, releasing, powerful current of energy moving all throughout my body and clearing that. And at the time, it all made sense how my vocal expression was also diagnosed with thyroid cancer in my early 20s. And so this all made sense, how my physical body holding my energy and just the blockages. And so that really set me off on my spiritual path and has led me to modalities such as breath work. But that would be the first experience that I'll share.
Wow. I'm listening to all four of you in your shares, thinking about the fact that I kind of came from this opposite. I think I knew I wasn't in my body. And it was only in my 30s that I was like, oh, I have a body. So I feel like my awakening came through becoming physical, because I just, I don't even know how to explain who I am, except to say that I was flying around and out of my body all the time when I was a little kid. I don't know that I was really ever in it. And so it's been a very potent practice to get in the body and to honor the body and to not deny the body. And so I just love hearing your shares, because I was also thinking, kind of like Celeste was saying, I was sort of thinking like, well, when did I realize that? Well, I don't know. I think it was the opposite for me. And, in talking about this idea of recognizing we're not just the physical body, and also acknowledging that the spiritual and the physical bodies need to connect, the next question I want to put out to all of you is, that our whole topic is the body is our temple. And so I want to know, what does that mean to you? Like in this present moment, in this season of your life, like what does it mean to say or to acknowledge that your body is your temple?
What comes up for me, Lisa, as biologically, my body is aging as I enter into my fifth decade. There are just natural changes occurring. And so there's a level of sacredness. It's a reorientation to my body, having gone through the stages of birthing human beings, and now really the self-remembrance and this reclamation feels quite present. And what does that mean to step into this next stage of life? And I wanted to address something that you mentioned about, it's almost this returning. I feel that many of us have had these openings of what it may be to experience something, an embodiment. And yet, in my own sort of history, I can see how the mind in a career active in tech for 25 years took me out of my body, and how a conditioned tendency can really cut off the access to that embodiment. And so I offer that as just a sense of compassion that oftentimes it's about making our way back. And this journey is never this sort of straight and linear path. There's always sort of this spiraling and a return to. And so each moment's just a remembrance of that opportunity to come back to our bodies.
What Diane said really resonates with me. I turned 57 this month, and what I was thinking about when Lisa asked the question was, shortly after I was fully in menopause, I was really, and actually the year I went into perimenopause, really being called to purify my body, and figured out some pretty big food sensitivities, but also having some thyroid issues and sleep and many other things. And it all seemed to be happening at once. I'm actually still working through some of it now. And what I have realized about that is that I think many of us are being called to purify our body, because our body is how we express in this incarnation. And the more pure our body is, at least from my experience, the more pure my body is, and it's also partly doing the work, is, I'm more in touch with my intuition. I'm getting more messages. My spirituality is deepening. My work with my clients is deepening. And that is a part of it, of being very aware of my body and purifying it, and getting related to the feelings and the sensations in the body and what they mean and where I hold and carry things. I was in finance for many years. In fact, August 16th, I will be completely free of any type of finance role in my life, over 30 years in finance. And I was really masculinized, by that experience. And I think part of the feminine and the way, embracing the feminine is really like this care and this compassion and presence in our body.
Yeah, thanks, Denise. I really resonate with that. And I also feel it's been honoring the different cycles and seasons. As a maiden, I experienced sexual trauma at a young age. So my body temple did not feel like my own. And so there was some clearing out of the womb space and reclaiming, self-doubt and trust. And then moving into being a mother, it became this vessel to grow and procreate life and, the sustenance for my babies. And now that I'm in this, this crone stage, moving into an elder, it feels like I'm more in my wisdom body. And this is the physical home that I have, during my time here on earth. And, in numerology, I'm a 7, which is heaven on earth, which to me translates to heaven is spirit and earth is this body temple. So how do we bring spirit into this body temple? And that's the integration.
Mm. Mm.
I love all the shares. For me, body as a temple, especially now, it means like the temple of my emotions. And I know in my practice a lot, I as a client myself, as a patient myself, and also as a practitioner, I witness a lot of this like emotional body in my physical body. And I think what I'm learning right now, what I'm leaning into more and more and more is to feel those emotions in my body, because they tell me the truth. They tell me the truth, and if I don't listen, I mean, it gets ugly. It gets unmanageable. It feels like I want to like crawl out of my skin, and sometimes I have to stay there. Sometimes I have to stay in that feeling and the emotion of like and the feeling of wanting to crawl out of my skin, because I need to. The only way that I'm going to maybe understand later what this is all about is if I feel it. If I don't feel it, someone once told me, they're called feelings because we're supposed to feel them. They're not called understandings. Like, oh my God. Okay. So maybe the understanding comes later and I don't have to seek it. It's just naturally going to come to me. But that's the thought that comes to mind, is this like feeling the emotions in my body, where are they, and then from there just allowing that understanding to come on its own. But if I seek it, no.
Yeah. You ladies are just activating me. I'm late 40s, moving towards my 50s, and it didn't happen for me becoming a mom in this life, and there's been a lot of grief around that for me. And the past 2 years has been this really profound journey of acknowledging that I've been denying all of this, because I didn't want to feel that grief, and I didn't want to look at all that. And, watching the weight click on and watching the estrogen grow and watching myself move into perimenopause and all of these things early, very early, because, it's a pretty high stat. If you haven't had biological children, you go into perimenopause a lot earlier. So I'm doing this differently than my mom and my sister and the rest of my family. And so I'm kind of in this uncharted territory. And so, just recently I've been doing some new practices with dance and movement and things I've just not really given myself permission to do. I'm a Scorpio, and so I can be very rigid on myself. Like, I'm in ballet and I'm in yoga and I do and so to just be like free has blasted all this grief open. And within that, my body has become my temple, because my body is telling the truth, as Celeste said, right? Like it's telling me what I need to release, and what not even what I need to release, what is ready to release, so that I can move into a new stage. And so I appreciate all of you sharing the different stages that you're in, and what you're feeling, and shifting into that space of wisdom. And I love Karen's question because it literally segues into my question as well. So Karen's question is, what are your favorite ways of purifying and clearing your body of trauma, negativity, toxins, etc.? Which in conjunction with my next question is, we've already started to talk about it. Like, my question is, what have been the most significant wounds, traumas, toxins that have disconnected you from your body, and how do you come home again, which is really what she's asking as well. So when do we get out? What's happened that gets us out? What are we battling, right? And how do we come back home? How do we come back in?
I'll begin with this one because as soon as I heard, I was like, oh, yes, this is my deal. So one of the, besides being an Ayurvedic practitioner, I am a craniosacral therapist. And within craniosacral therapy, there are many branches. And my specialty is somato-emotional release. And so I find that for me, the best way to, it's very hard though. It's a challenging, it's a very intense, very energizing, but also draining at the same time. Like we can have both at the same time way, but to be on the table and talking to the parts of my body which are also part of my psyche that are there, and they're like screaming at me to listen. They want my attention and I'm not listening for whatever reason. Maybe I'm busy, maybe I am afraid. It takes a lot of courage to do that. And to be honest, I don't have a lot of people who are willing to do the work because it's hard. Like, and I know this might sound a little bit vague, but basically it's like being on the table, having someone just being there, holding space for you while we find whatever that is that's in the body, energetically or physically, and we then have a conversation with it. And the cool thing about it, where the real transformation happens for me and for all the people that I've worked with, and and in tandem with like other therapists, is when we are able to not only be ourselves on that table and talk as me, but can I become the part? Can I become the part, and can I talk as the part? And if I do that, I'm individuating, right? Like I am bringing it all together, and it feels more whole. Yeah, that's like in a nutshell. There's so much, but that's basically how it works for me. Those are the best ways for me that I have been able to release a lot of gunk and a lot of stuff that I didn't know was there. Like I have broken a massage table from the release of energy that came out of me. And I didn't know it was there. It was a dragon, and I just had no idea. And it just showed up, and then it was released, and I had no control anymore. Like screaming and kicking. And that's why I say it's raw. It's hard. But if we are able to be vulnerable like that, oh my God, the freedom and the lightness that comes afterwards, it's amazing. That's all.
Just that.
Yeah, so I'll share a little bit. I think the most basic practice is the breath practice. It's the first thing we're given, it's the last thing we leave behind. And just the breath is so cleansing and purifying, and the ability to just breathe more of ourselves into existence and then exhale what isn't ours to carry in the body. And then the rest, it really, really depends, because I don't believe there's a one size fits all for everybody, because everything in nature seeks balance and homeostasis. So if you're someone that's been depressed, your energy is suppressing something. So therefore, it needs to come up and be released. If you tend to be overly anxious, the energy is up. So you need more rooting and grounding, right? So everything has an equal and opposite reaction. If you're someone that's been a people pleaser and overly giving, the tendency is to come in and to come back into more self-care, right? If you're somebody that has been very self-absorbed, then it's, the medicine is to be of service. And I find just slightly altered states of consciousness, just to shift our perspective a little bit, can usually offer, an insight, because the same people, places, thinking that got you into that situation is not the same thing that's going to get you out. And if there are two things that I practice, and it's probably a lifelong practice, the ability to sit with yourself instead of reaching, seeking the things outside of yourself. So a meditation and stillness practice, and to create spaciousness, in the breath, in the body, and love and presence, being in the present moment and coming into the heart space.
I love everything that it's been shared, and the only things that I think I could add that haven't already been spoken about is, I talked earlier about purifying my body. So cleanses, eating healthy, certainly that is a piece of it. But to kind of bring in what both Deanne and Celeste have said is just making a body scan a regular practice. Often I'll do the body scan as an opening with my clients, or my own meditation at different points in the day. And it's just such a good reminder, like, what's in there? What am I holding? If there's tension there, I'm holding something there, and what is it? And just that awareness can be really helpful.
Love that you're naming that, Denise, the awareness, because that's what I was moving towards, where oftentimes we can grip onto this desire, to get to some end state. But there's first this attunement and this orientation with, well, what's here? Sort of what are we actually purifying? And so that can be energy in our physical body, as Celeste spoke to, power of breath work. And as a breathwork facilitator, I see that potent tool. There's also a purification of mind and thought as well. And having come from a very westernized trained brain, if you will, and having worked in the tech industry for a couple decades, it can be sometimes unclear how much of our thoughts create those impurities. And so part of my coaching practice with clients is to really take that inward journey. And so what are we not seeing because we're seeing what we're seeing? And so it's really taking that deeper, close look in the mirror. And as Celeste brought up, having the courage and the conviction to first self-observe, inquire, notice. And then from that place, we can move into all these beautiful purification practices. And sometimes it can be as simple as sitting practice and just observing our monkey mind and some of the negative thought patterns or the conditioned tendencies. Or it could be a simple practice such as drinking those 8 glasses of water every day. So I feel that there's such a profound range of tools available, and the invitation is to sort of return back to ourselves, to really self-observe and become aware of what gets in the way and what are we purifying.
Mm.
Mm.
Yes, yes, yes. I want to throw out the word shame. And I want to talk about that a little bit. You know, this idea, there's a lot of over functioning in the world, and we all have been some kind of businesswoman, you know, and both Diane and Denise, you mentioned it with the masculine careers you were in. I watched my mom as a quality engineer navigating that masculine world, and you know, as businesswomen and leaders and spiritual teachers and all of those things, the over functioning, the over giving, there's shame under there somewhere. And Emmanuel also throws out what's the difference between loving from pain and loving from happiness, which is a great question too. So, you know, we're going to throw Emmanuel's question and this idea of shame like in the melting pot, and just want to see what comes up for you all.
No, thank you for that question. I think I'm going to zoom out and take a much broader perspective of that, of love, whether it's coming from pain or happiness. I think that's if you're seeing from a dualistic perspective, which we tend to do when we see from two eyes. But when you zoom out, love is love. You know, there is no judgment. It's not good, bad, right, or wrong. It's just all love. So, you know, however you love, just love.
Yeah.
One of the things that has helped me get in touch with and heal shame, and also this idea of like, where is my love coming from, my expression of love, whether pain, and I'll add in maybe desperation, or, you know, true unconditional love and happiness, is understanding my attachment style, you know, and understanding that, you know, I had to have an anxious attachment style. And if I can really understand why I allowed things to happen in past relationships, and I have shame around that, you know, like why did I allow that? Why didn't I speak up? And delve into that question. You know, one, I get insights into it, and I won't go into the details there, just given the the time we have. But also, well, how would I do something differently in the next relationship, and how do I want to be? Do I want to operate from a place of shame and desperation, or do I want to operate from a place of loving power?
I'm going to jump in on that just because it's so near and dear to my heart and my own journey. Just to say that it's very easy when you become aware of the anxious attachment or the codependency or the overfunctioning or whatever it is, that I'm healing everyone and I'm not healing myself. I think every healer's done that moment of awareness at some point. It's so easy to be stuck in the pain then, because the pain comes from that acknowledgement that I didn't think I was enough. So I'm doing all these things, and I'm going to go heal the world. And I tell everyone, you know, the minute you sit in my office across from me and say, I want to become a healer, what you're really saying is you need to heal yourself. You want to heal yourself. You're looking for the healing. You're looking to free yourself from the pain.
Yeah, I'm nodding vigorously. That narrative of not enoughness, I think, is really what shame gets, is really the seed of how shame is born. It's this feeling, this sense that we're not enough. And it's bringing the circumstance. And so a mother, I've worked through a deep mother wound, being abandoned as an infant. And so for many years, carrying that shame of thinking that I'm not enough, that I wasn't enough, for her to stay. And so the moment we can really have that distinction between the situation and not take that on as a reflection of our lack of wholeness, our lack of enoughness, is the moment that completion begins, and we can move in the world from a place of that wholeness. And for me, that's where the shame really dissolves. It's relationship with self, and that's where it all begins. And that's not to undermine how challenging it is to work through. It's a lifelong journey in many cases, but it's just a reminder for me of that distinction between sort of shame and the situation and a return to our wholeness.
Those are great perspectives. I was thinking about how much I go back to the feeling, right? That's what I'm in right now. And like, for me, a lot of my life in the past, right, when I was numbing, I didn't want to feel, I didn't want to feel it. I didn't want to look at it, whatever that was. No. And I think that now I'm in a place where even in the pain, I find the beauty. Like, I find, like, I can feel. That's huge. Because I didn't want to feel for a long, long time. And so I'm not a masochist, okay? But for example, last year was extremely painful for me. I let go of an almost 7-year relationship. It dissolved as fiery and like however that started, it just disappeared. And it was very challenging, and I had to go through this whole thing of like, I feel pain, am I loving through this pain? Wait, is this actually love? Because I'm missing this person. But it could be romantic love, or my father died when I was 5, so it could be something like that. Like, am I missing this person because of what they gave me, or because of what I could give to them? And that was a huge realization, like, oh, maybe I'm being selfish right now. Maybe this isn't love? Maybe, not that I didn't feel it, but that portion of it was. And then from there, just feeling all that, and the shame that comes from that, the shame that comes from having the realization, maybe, my love wasn't as big as I thought and as big as I professed it to be. It's kind of hits a lot. But bottom line for me is like, I just have to feel all the things. And then I cleanse, right? And then I love better, probably.
I mean, I'm hearing so many really, so many moving in, and recently that I had to look at within myself, which was my own internal misogyny, which was, I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, therefore I have to go into overgiving, overfunctioning to be worthy of love, and then I'm angry and resentful. And that whole cycle, and then really the disconnection from self, like the self-abandonment, and the self-betrayal, and then having to clean that up energetically and become more aligned. So and that was the shame for, like, towards my body temple. Like, I'm sorry that I wasn't in the body, I didn't listen to the cues, I wasn't honoring when I was feeling in fight or flight, and and to come back and to commit to the path. Right.
Are you me? I'm sorry. I thought I was hearing myself about all that over-functioning and resentment. And
it's in the collective. It's a collective exhaustion, from all,
it is. And that's where I want to go next, as we move into this, back end of our panel discussion, is I want to talk about our Mother Earth, about, Gaia and her collective trauma. And also, prior to coming live, there was mention of, the volcano of emotions. And I think there's a profound reflection of that volcanic activity, especially right now, happening in some key areas on the planet. And so I want to shift to that collective place that all of us love to be in with the earth, and talk a little bit about the earth as our temple, her body as the temple, and the collective healing and cleansing. And I don't care where we go with this, but, what are we feeling about our beautiful planet right now, and about, the reclamation of the sacred body as a collective healing of the feminine?
What comes to mind for me immediately is like, well, I am an extension of that. Like, I belong to the earth. And to be honest, like this last month, I've been having this it's been coming, it's been happening, but this last month, it's been like, you need to do something different when it comes to the way I live and where I'm at, and going back to that medicine of Mother Earth, because that's it heals me. I will assume that it heals everybody, and are we willing to, get out of the dream that we need all these things, to be in connection. Like, I'm in this place where and I think it comes back to also what you were talking about, this overgiving, right? Like, I'm in this place when I just want to go wake up in a valley every day, no phones, no text, go swim in the river, and take a nap under a tree. I did that for like 10 days, half a month ago, and I was like, oh, this is what I need. Like, this is my medicine. This is where I need to be. So, how, like, I'm going to have to sacrifice some things. And am I okay with that? And I cannot do it until I feel in my body that I'm okay with that. Of what I'm going to have to let go of in order to do that. It might take me 2 years. It might take me 10. It might take me 2 months. I don't know. But that's the thought that I got, is like, Mother Earth heals me. She heals me, and I belong to her.
That's beautiful, Celeste. Thank you. And Lisa, I've never made this connection before. So thank you. Like, this realization that, as a whole, generalizing, the masculine is revered over the feminine. Wow. We haven't respected Mother Earth either. Like the level of, for example, sexual abuse that women endure. I mean, I think the official figure is like 1 in 5. I think we all know it's actually higher than that. I mean, I suppressed sexual trauma for years. And so, of course, that's not going to be reported because I didn't even understand what happened, So anyway, that, and then relating to, the raping and pillaging of Mother Earth, like, oh, wow. And not that, father son hasn't been demonized for as well in some ways. We need the sun just as much as the earth, because it all works together. The masculine and the feminine, when it's balanced. Mother Earth can't survive and be nurtured without the sun. And when we are balanced in our masculine and feminine, and are in relationships that have that balance, wow, so much richer and vibrant, and have more to give and receive.
I think there's an interesting mirror on social media when it comes to yoga and fitness with women, especially, with what we choose to do to our bodies to manipulate them to be however we think in our minds they need to be. And I think the same is true with the manipulation of DNA. The same is true with the manipulation of Mother Earth. And that mirror that's been painful for me. It's really painful for me to see the destruction of the natural laws and the natural forces and the natural nature.
Yeah. I love this question. I was just actually in conversation with a dear friend of mine, Annie, who has spent so much of her energy and career in climate. And the conversation we were having, and her perspective is, we're not separate. And so this idea that I'm bringing today around relationship, it starts with self, kind of this notion of inner work. And from that place, how we are with ourselves is how we are with all beings and relations. And so we were in conversation, and her theory is, our external environment, Mother Nature, is polluted because we haven't cleaned up our own inner pollution. So this gets back to the purification piece of how are we tending to ourself first, and how are we being with our own feminine, that creative energy and care, self-love, and how we are and our way of being then transcends to how we are with others, earth included. And so this idea of, yes, we are one, and the I and the me becomes the we. And so this sort of harmonious, unified balance there. And I'll offer that it really does begin with us as an individual, first and foremost.
Yeah. And as somebody who has also had a mother wound, I tend to see and attract that quite a bit. And it's a really separation from, the feminine, our own inner feminine. And I see a direct correlation between how we treat our own feminine emotional bodies with how we treat Pachamama, our great mother. And, part of my healing the feminine has been just the loving and giving to the great mother, because she gives so much back to us. And just to have clean water, clean air, clean food. I mean, I she's going to be fine. She's going to live long after us. But because I love humans and humanity, I would like to see us be able to continue to thrive on this planet. And I have children. I would like to see, my children's children, our future ancestors, can continue to, live on a beautiful, clean, abundant planet. And I think that we've over extracted, over consumed, taken more than we need. And so now it's time to be in reciprocity. The catchword term is I need. So now it's time to give back.
Agreed. Well, Karen shared, I dropped all my plans so I could be present with you all today. It has been so worth it, so grateful. We love you, Karen, too. Karen's just a light. And I agree. I hope we can do this again because I feel like we're just scratching the surface of what alchemically might happen here as we come to the end of the hour. And so thank you everybody who's been joining, and please continue. Don't be afraid if you're watching this on replay to put questions and comments under the replays, because I do respond to everything. And I also share all of these with the presenters so that they can share and comment and respond as well. And thank you so much, Diane and Deanne and Denise and Celeste, for being here. Your energy is just
thank you for creating this space.
Oh, this is so good. I miss this. This is like coming home because I took a break because of my own grief, my own overgiving and overfunctioning and blah, blah, blah. So we're going to end with this final kind of question, which is, every time we have been through a One Heart, One Earth Global Healing Summit, there is a lot of Shaktipat that occurs with everyone who's involved, whether you're speaking or you're just watching. Oh, and I get goosebumps everywhere. And so I would love for each of you to share your words of wisdom to everyone who is experiencing either some kind of awakening or this reclamation of the sacred body. Like they're, just from the practices today, if you are not in your sacred body, I can't even imagine, because the practices have been so beautiful. And some of you are working and busy and you're going to come back to this. And so I'd love for each of you to just share kind of, what do they do with this lotus flower that's
Love her.
I'll offer.
And support.
I would offer, follow those breadcrumbs, because those are the whispers of the heart and the inner wisdom. And so just put the mind at ease, follow the curiosity, and those breadcrumbs will lead to a more beautiful, expansive place.
So I love when Shakti awakens, and it can be a lot of intense energy and movement. And so just a reminder to breathe, to move through the energy, stay in the heart space and in the present moment. And I'll say all the mushrooms, because of their mycelium that grows in the ground and that is rooted and connected and holds ancient wisdom to our ancestors, that's good supplemental support.
I would say don't take yourself too seriously. Let it flow. You can't do it wrong. You just can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful reminder to just bring in the joy and the fun and the play. And when in doubt, also dance it out to move that energy, bring in that creative spirit and joy.
And have the courage to be vulnerable with either a trusted guide or someone in your life. I find that even with my closest friends, sometimes I hide, and I don't really need to. So I've been calling myself on that more.
Yeah. Well, I just love all of you so much. All of you here with me. I mean, this is such a gift. And I forgot, I did these all through COVID, and then I took a break, right? And coming back into this experience, like 100%, we're doing more of these because they're just such a gift to all of us and to me. I mean, it changes me every time I do this. And I want to thank, Ananda Mayima for Celeste was sitting in my office. Were you not? And I was like, she wants me to do something. And here we are.
Yeah.
Birthed because of her incredible light and her darshan and her, I mean, just like, yes, spontaneous orgasms, Kundalini awakening. And in fact, I'm going to open a page and just read a sentence from what she has to say while we're sitting here before we close. She says, talks on the Lord are only talks. All other talks are useless and distressful attempts. There you have it. Anandamai Ma. Let's see, I'm going to pull one more. These are all her conversations with God. This is an incredible, incredible book. And let's see. She says you can recite the name of Lord Rama or any name given by the guru, the great mantras. It is all the same. So she's just amazing. So with that being said, what's interesting to me is that we don't really plan the schedule. Like we just kind of see what happens. And we're closing today with this beautiful panel of women. And we're opening at 8 a.m. tomorrow with an incredible panel of men. And my husband, Scott, is going to be moderating with 3 other men. So we'll be joined with Tim Sanders from London. He's from Omnia Balance. He's the big cheerleader of Tesla technology to heal us from EMFs. We have Andrew Berard coming back on. He shared his ayahuasca journey today and his profound life experience. And he's a life coach, so he'll be back also. And then Steve is another guest, and Steve's been a fireman all his life. He's seen a lot of trauma. He's removed bodies from houses and had to handle difficult conversations. And so these 4 brave men are going to talk tomorrow about how they've been healing their masculinity through the feminine. And it's just going to be powerful. And I'm so grateful that these men are a part of this because we want and need, and it exists, both Shiva, Shakti, both the masculine and the feminine. So I just love that we're closing today with this feminine energy, and we're opening tomorrow with the masculine energy. So don't miss tomorrow, 8 a.m. sharp. Denise, you're speaking tomorrow also. If you missed the practices from Diane and Deanne and Celeste today, you need to go back because they're so good. I cried in both presentations, just being in my body and just really releasing some things that came up for me. So it's beautiful. And we also have our featured speaker tomorrow is Swami Aliyananda Paramahansa. And if you have never listened to her speak, I was blessed to see His Holiness speak many times and sat in front of him in a private talk with the Tibetan people, and it almost doesn't compare to Swami Aliyananda's Shakti. So I just want to share, please tune in tomorrow because it's worth another day with us here. So with that, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, ladies. I love you so much.
Thank you.
More to
Thank
come.
you.
There's so many things birthing out of this, so many ideas and all these things. So thank you, everybody. Don't forget to register online. What you're doing when you register, it's free to register, but what you're doing is you're going to receive all the gifts. You're going to receive all the replays throughout the week. You're going to receive information about how to connect with the presenters. You're going to receive any gifts and offerings they have. So please, get involved in that. And we do have a donation button. So if you feel called to support, most of it goes to my niece, who's the background logistical brain of this whole thing for me. And I love you all. And I'll see you at 8 a.m. sharp. Bye, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.